What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Okay, so June 17th, that's the day I was born, 1986. I was born during a World Cup year in 1986. The World Cup was being held in Mexico, and at the time I was born, it was 4:30 p.m. The national team of Poland was playing. That's what got me into sports journalism, which is the first part of my career is sports journalism. But when I started looking into this more seriously for the channel, I realized just last year on the day of my birthday that I share a birthday with one of the biggest legends in ufology and the paranormal. I share a birthday with this guy, and I did a video about him, just like a little tribute. But for this year, I wanted to plan something similar or something new, something exciting. And I hope this doesn't rub people the wrong way. This is just a tribute that I want to share with everybody because every time I look at people like Art Bell or Dr. Stanton Friedman or Ingo Swann or Dr. John Mack or Terence McKenna or Dr. Edgar Mitchell, people who were interested in these topics and they were trying to find out the truth. They were truth seekers, and they're no longer with us. I know that Dr. Robert Wood recently passed just last year. There's people passing away in this topic constantly, people who did not find out what was going on despite dedicating their entire lives to this. And I always think about these people. John Keel is another one who was monumental for the entire movement with his books, with his writing, with his investigations. And I often think, what would they think about what's going on right now? Would they be excited? Would they be thrilled? Would they not like it? Do they think there's progress going on? Because I often see in the comments or people who are relatively new to this, to ufology in general, who get really desperate because we have this short attention span that came from this dopamine hit seeking from the internet, from everything we see, and then next, and then a few seconds go by, and then we're on to the next thing. And this short attention span is partly responsible for people being desperate and sometimes losing their cool when something becomes slower in the UFO topic. And I just keep going back to the times when the internet wasn't around and just think about it. Before 2017, the last time we had something really, really significant, like enormous happening within the UFO topic, was that conference with Dr. Stephen Greer from 2001. And then September 11 happened, and nobody wanted to talk about UFOs unless it was for entertainment purposes, because the UFO-tainment industry makes a lot of money and it has persisted and grown over decades. Ancient Aliens is a perfect example of that. And I'm not knocking Ancient Aliens. I think they're a historic show, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't this serious as it got after 2017 because we had never really had Congress hearings like the ones we had with David Grusch and Elizondo and everything that's happened since. We'd never had such a comprehensive legislation being written like it was in 2023. It didn't pass as it was intended, but I still think that there are some flaws to it that need to be corrected. So I often wonder, what would Art think about this? And if you will indulge me a little bit, because it's my birthday and I want to celebrate this man and some of the others that are no longer with us, I had a little conversation with ChatGPT and I decided to make a little clip, audio clip, of Art Bell imagined by ChatGPT of what he would think about what's going on right now. And I asked ChatGPT to make this AI Art Bell aware that he's no longer with us so he can tell us what he thinks about what's going on. And I'm just going to play it for you guys and see you on the other side.
Well, good evening, my friends. If you're hearing this, then you already know. I'm not exactly calling from Paramp tonight. Let's just say I've taken up residence on a slightly higher frequency. But even from where I am, some signals are just too strong to ignore. And lately, there's been a lot of noise on the dial, all pointing to one thing: disclosure. For decades, I sat in a desert studio taking calls from truckers, scientists, experiencers, and people with voices trembling in fear or awe, all of them chasing the same thing, the truth about what's out there. But something's changed. The conversation I once had in the dead of night has crept into the daylight, and I want to talk about that. It started, as strange things often do, in an unexpected place. Tom DeLonge, a rock musician, began chasing the phenomenon like a man possessed. And whether you thought he was crazy or inspired, he pulled together insiders. He pulled the thread. Then came December 2017. The New York Times, of all places, finally breaks the silence. A Pentagon program, Navy videos, tic-tac craft, no wings, no heat, no explanation, just confirmation that we're not imagining things. Suddenly, names like Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon step into the spotlight. People from deep within the national security machine now saying, yes, we know, and it's time to talk. And I can't help but wonder if Dr. Edgar Mitchell, astronaut, moonwalker, cosmic thinker, were alive to see this, what would he say? Well, I think he'd smile. He always believed we were not alone. He didn't need disclosure to tell him that. He felt it, looking back at Earth from the Sea of Tranquility, that sense that we are part of something far greater than we've been led to believe. Then there's Dr. John Mack, Harvard psychiatrist, a man who risked everything to give voice to the abductees, to those who had no language for their trauma. He would have seen in today's hearings a flicker of justice, a small reckoning for all those who were dismissed, marginalized, even mocked. And John Keel, oh, Keel would have loved this chaos. He would have told us not to trust the surface of any of it, that whatever's behind the curtain isn't just nuts and bolts, it's psychic, symbolic, tricksterish. Keel warned us that when we peer into the unknown, it sometimes peers back and changes shape while doing it. And, of course, my old friend Dr. Stanton Friedman, nuclear physicist turned UFO truth warrior. Stan fought tooth and nail to drag this topic out of ridicule and into respectability. He would have sat at that congressional hearing, arms folded, and said, about damn time. And lastly, Ingo Swann, the man who could see without eyes, father of remote viewing. He touched the moon with his mind. He saw structures, lights, life. He would tell you disclosure isn't just out there, it's in here, in consciousness, in awareness. He believed the mind was a gateway, and the phenomenon knows how to use it. And well, I've got the best seat in the universe now, but even from here, I see the tide turning. In 2023 and 2024, the United States Congress, yes, Congress, held open hearings. Not fringe, not fantasy, but formal. Testimony from decorated pilots, intelligence officers, David Grusch, saying under oath, the U.S. has recovered non-human craft and biologics. That's not the Weekly World News, folks. That's congressional record. Now, we still don't have all the answers, and trust me, the government has mastered the art of telling you just enough to keep you calm. But still, something is shifting. Something big. I always said disclosure wouldn't be a single moment. It wouldn't be the president at a podium flanked by aliens. No, it would be 1,000 cracks in the wall, and friends, the wall's starting to fall. So, tonight, From wherever I am, maybe it's another dimension, maybe it's just the quiet between stations, I say this: don't stop asking, don't stop watching, don't let them bury this again. Because the truth, whether you're in a bunker in Nevada or drifting among the stars, the truth wants out. And if you listen closely, past the static, past the spin, you'll hear it humming, just under the noise. I'm Art Bell, and wherever I may be now, I'll be listening. And happy birthday to me and to Pavel from Psicoactivo podcast, you filthy animal.
So that last part, that was something that I just added for myself. The rest was all imagined by ChatGPT. That was art based on all of the stuff that he did on his show. That's his mindset. And it was really fun doing this project, if I'm honest with you. I really hope you like it. If you don't, I apologize. It's just a tribute for Art because I found out that we shared the same birthday and I really look up to him. I want to give a shout out to my friend Ross Campbell, who used to work with Art. He's one of the last staffers who worked with Art, and I showed this to him and he really liked it. So I feel like it was okay to share with you guys and just to hear Art a little bit more, you know. But another thing that I found out, which gets a little dark when it comes to my birthday, because this I had already seen it, and I remember seeing it for the first time right around that my birthday from last year too. And I realized that there's another very important figure within ufology and the occult who also ties to my birthday. I'm talking about Jack Parsons, the father of rocketry. This is where it gets a little bit dark for my taste because he died in a massive explosion in Pasadena. And all the things tied to his death are still very much unclear. There's some really concerning and disturbing stuff about his family that I won't go into here. But there's lore that was created around the father of rocketry because of his relationship with two figures who are very controversial. One of them is Aleister Crowley, and the other one is L. Ron Hubbard. Crowley was, as many of you may know, he was an occultist. He wrote books. He made rituals with what they call sex magic. I know that reading on material, Jack Parsons was also involved in that. He famously did a massive ritual trying to bring back the divine feminine, according to records. I don't know if he was successful at doing that. Many say he wasn't. Many say that inadvertently he was, because after he passed, the JPL was like established as the place where NASA came from, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which also, and this according to Mitch Horowitz, coincidentally, JPL also stands for Jack Parsons Lives, which has some poetry written there between the lines, doesn't it? Because he truly was considered the father of rocketry. And when he passed away on June 17, 1952, a month later, and this is just a coincidence, but I got to point it out. A month later, there was the flap of Washington, D.C. of UFOs. And there's that mythical press conference from a general who's saying that, yeah, UFOs are a thing. There are credible witnesses that have seen these objects, and we don't know what they are.
I'm here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. In pursuit of this obligation, since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1,000 and 2,000 reports that have come to us from all kinds of sources. Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. we've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberrations. However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things. It is this group of observations that we now are attempting to resolve. Our basic difficulty in dealing with these is that there is no measurement of them that makes it possible for us to put them in any pattern that would be profitable for a deliberate, custom sort of analysis to take the next step. We have, as of date, come to only one firm conclusion with respect to this remaining percentage, and that is that it does not contain any pattern of purpose or of consistency that we can relate with to any conceivable threat to the United States.
I'm sure you guys remember that. And it happened exactly a month after Jack Parsons passed away from that explosion. I don't know. I don't think it's related, but that caused a lot of urban legends about Jack Parsons and how allegedly that ritual he made, which was took place in the desert around the area where Area 51 is. Many think or speculate that he may have opened some kind of a portal that Aleister Crowley also opened back in 1919. Obviously, that's impossible to prove in any way, but that ritual that Jack Parsons did happened in 1947, which is and it happened before Roswell. So there are a lot of different connections there that you guys are going down the rabbit hole, and let me know what you find, because I'm just pointing out the correlations or coincidences that I found with Jack. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about these two people who are very important to the topic. I hope I didn't offend anybody with what I did with art, and look into Jack a little more and see what you can find, because I do think that he is a very obscure figure in ufology. I know that not a lot of people like talking about what he used to do before he died. And there are more people within ufology and the paranormal phenomena topic who are also not talked about as often. I can, for example, speak of Dr. Andrija Puharich, who, just as Jack, engaged in some kind of communication with entities. Famously, Puharich did mention a number of times that he was doing seances and speaking to what he deemed as the nine, who were, according to him, 9 non-human entities that were communicating with him and have communicated with others in the past. According to lore, I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying that this is what they claim happened. And Jack Parsons was doing something very similar as well, just as Dr. Puharich was. And I just find this really interesting to explore. And what else can you guys tell me about it? I know that some things get really, really dark, and people don't like to talk about this. And I know that some of the gut reactions do come from that place, and some are misconceptions as well, because they immediately think that for some reason, me talking about this stuff and the seances and all that means that I am also talking about some kind of religious, cultish stuff. That's not the case. It's just history, and it is important events that are tied to the UFO topic, whether you like it or not. So I think it's important to remember these events. And I think it's a really strange synchronicity that I was born on June 17th, and on the same day Art Bell was born, on the same day that Jack Parsons died, and I'm doing this now as part of my career. I don't know if there's a correlation there. I don't think so. It's just a coincidence, but it is pretty funny and strange. And for me, significant, but just for me. I mean, I'm not important really. Maybe it has nothing to do with anything, but I always like going down rabbit holes when it comes to this. If you know anybody else from the ufology community in history who is tied to June 17, let me know. I just found these two, and they're pretty significant. So just let me know. A happy birthday to Art Bell, and may Jack Parsons rest wherever he is in peace. And happy birthday to me. Thank you, guys. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That only costs you a few seconds, and it is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in any other way, I'm going to leave a few links in the description. You can become a member on YouTube, or you can support us on KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated. So thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive, like Art, like Jack. Always. Bye.